Now that we're in the year of 2026, I decided it would make for a fun video to talk about where I want the direction of future Pokemon games to go. I've been a fan of Pokemon for a long time, since Pikachu was chubby, and seeing the series grow and develop over the years, I thought I would share my hopes and wants for the series that I hold so dearly. Now, I am aware that there are rumored leaks about future Pokemon games floating around, and I will not be addressing them, and frankly, I don't even know what they are or care to learn more. I'd rather not deal with leaks and be spoiled on the fun. With that being said, let's nerd out and talk about Pokemon games. Let's start off with the mainline games. Now, I actually really enjoyed Scarlet and Violet. I will say I did prefer the DLC story more than the mainline story though. I just really enjoyed the characters Carmen and Kieran and was more invested in them over Penny's character. The gym leaders were very well done, but Geeta is by far the worst champion in terms of character and difficulty in my opinion. Gen 9 was also a nice jump to a more open map and not limiting us so much on where to go. I did not like how the gym still had a mandatory order in which you should battle them in, and the levels did not adjust depending on how many badges you had. It held back on the open map aspect and was just very disappointing. So, my hopes for the next generation games, Gen 10 and onward, would be to build on more with the open map concept. Let me take on any gym in any order and have their levels differ depending on how many badges I have. Pokemon games have been cooking lately with their characters in terms of designs and having fun personalities, so I would like more of that. SV in Legend ZA Raiden was actually pretty funny at times and very self-aware, so keep those writers on and have them cook more, please. This still is a children's game, so I don't expect Pokemon to be incredibly hard or difficult, but I would like it if they made the champion of the next gen use more of a competitive team or a fun build to really make the player think. The SV Blueberry Academy Elite Four did a good job at using fun playstyles, and I actually had to think about some of my plays and even lost to them at times and had to go back and rethink my strategy. A champion to me doesn't have to be so incredibly difficult to beat, but they should be fun to beat. A fun challenge with slightly, and I mean slightly, higher level Pokemon than yours at the time you reach them would work just fine. One thing I would like for Pokemon games to bring back in Gen 10 and beyond is having your rival pick the starter that is super effective against yours. For the past 3 gens, your rival would choose the Pokemon weaker to yours. I'm not so sure why they decided to mix up the formula of having your rival pick Charmander when you chose Bulbasaur, but they're supposed to be my rival for a reason. I actually don't mind having friendly rivals. I don't mind them spreading the power of friendship. I also don't mind them being a major jerk. But I put my foot down on having my rival intentionally choosing the weaker starter to mine. Friendly competition is fine, but there is no reason why one of your rival's main goals is to beat you and then turn around and choose the weaker starter. If they are going to continue down that path, then at least pull a black and white or XY, where you have one rival choose the weaker starter and the more main rival choose the super effective starter to yours. I would still prefer the one main rival concept, but when done right, multiple rivals are also a good option. Another thing I would like future mainline games to have is to bring back old gimmicks. I don't mind and understand that with each new gen they want to introduce a new gimmick. However, I still would like the old ones to come back, even if it's post-game content. The best example of old gimmicks coming back would be in Sun and Moon, where they introduced Z-moves as their new game gimmick, but brought back Mega Evolution in the post-game. I understand that having every single gimmick in the game would be overbearing, but bringing back or sprinkling them throughout different games would be interesting, even if it was limited to just post-game content. At least it will give people something extra to do after they beat the game. Z moves and Mega Evolutions are likely to be the easiest to incorporate into newer regions, with Megas being the better option if they want to flesh out that region's Pokédex by giving old mons new Megas. I could also see terrestrializing coming back, but I feel like that might be a bit more of an effort to work into the new region's lore. Game Freak kind of sunk the ship with Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing though, by having to be set in stone that is only something that happens in the Galar region. Unless they make Eternatus cause chaos in the new regions, I think Dynamaxing is lost lore in the mainline games moving forward. The only possibility I can see Dynamaxing making a return is if they make a Legends Galar game. To add into the topic of bringing gimmicks back from older games, I would really like it if we had alternatives to battling. For example, Pokemon Contest, Pokestar Studios, Pokemon Musicals, and the Pokeathlon. These fun alternatives were nice breaks from battling and were just fun to play. These types of alternatives just sort of went away as the gens kept coming. It's honestly such a shame. There is no reason why we can't have contest buildings pop up in different towns and cities like in the older games. I honestly just miss Pokemon Contest so much. I spent a lot of hours in Platinum building a separate Pokemon team made just for contests. I loved planning out moves and strategizing what moves work well with each other or which ones mess up my opponents the most. Of course, we're not talking about that shameful disaster of the BDSP sad rhythm-based contest. I know a lot of people also enjoyed Pokestar Studios and seeing the different outcomes of the movies that you could play in. My point is that there really was no reason to get rid of these fun build-ins other than time crunch. If anything, adding more fun alternatives just adds more gameplay hours and makes the game that more enjoyable. I really hope that this is something they consider bringing back, whether it's bringing back something old like contests or maybe even adding something new. If they do add something new, I would like it if it involves dressing up your Pokemon. That was always the most fun to me. The way they've handled Pokemon distributions in Scarlet and Violet is exactly how they should continue to do so in future games. In SV, through Terra Raids, they had in-game distribution events where you could get Mewtwo, Mew, and even a shiny Rayquaza. They even made the mythical Pokemon Pecharunt have a whole fun event that you got to play in-game like a mini post story. And the best part is that you didn't have to travel to a retail store. I hope you got a special code in a Japanese magazine. I really hope they change their minds about doing Pokemon distributions through retail stores, because that shiny Miraidon and Koraidon GameStop event went down so badly, where they were only given very limited codes. Most of the codes went to scalpers or resellers within the first 30 minutes of each location's opening. How a lot of players never got these shinies, the whole thing was very disappointing, and it could have been a free mystery gift or even a terror event like they've been doing for the past legendary Pokemon in that game. I don't live anywhere near a GameStop, so for years, I could never get the mythical Pokemon or fun events that were only available through GameStop codes, and it just sucked. So I was happy that I could finally get a mythical Pokemon and other free shiny and legendary Pokemon via in-game events being distributed through Game Freak themselves. Moving forward, I want more of that and less alienating retail events. Now, this next topic I'm actually very conflicted on. The topic being voice acting in Pokemon games. While I think it is a much needed addition to the series, I also sort of don't want it. What's holding me back is that we already have voice acting in Pokemon mobile games, mainly Pokemon Masters EX, and the voice acting there is mixed. Some voices I think are great and match the characters well, but then we have characters like Kieran.
I'm Kieran. I go to Blueberry Academy, but I was born in Kitakami. What kind of power is this? Do I look a little cooler now?
Hey guys, I hope we all have a fun game, no matter who ends up winning.
I want to kill that guy.
It's just totally not at all what I imagined the character to sound like, and I just don't like it. I'm also worried about how they will incorporate accents into voice acting, seeing as how the Pokemon world is expanding throughout different regions of our world. For example, if the next Pokemon game is set in Australia, will the voice actors have Australian accents? Or will there be English voice actors trying their best to put on an Australian accent and it sounding off? I realize that my reason is very nitpicky when it comes to voice acting, but the voices have to be good, especially if they are a main character, and I'm going to have to sit through and listen to their voice. If the voices aren't that great, then it's going to be a bit painful. Because the mainline games haven't had any sort of voice acting in the past, I'm just very worried they will mess it up somehow. With that being said, I think they should incorporate some voice acting by introducing snippets of characters talking like them saying, hello, goodbye, making confused noises like, huh? Or gasping when shocked. Limited voice acting to give an idea of the direction of how a character sounds. While I think Pokemon should have some voice acting, I'm not confident on their ability of introducing full-on voice acting just yet. Or who knows, maybe they will surprise me and have great voice actors and everything will work out fine. I can't wait for Gen 10 and having our new rival be voiced by Jack Black. I'm going to now list some features that I hope either comes back, stays, or is added to in the new upcoming games. The shiny noise indicator with the sparkle animation when you get close to that shiny. Please forever keep this as a feature in the games. Shiny hunting in Scarlet and Violet was complete hell when your target was someone like Dandamouse. No shiny sound, just running around, zooming the camera on their tiny shirts to see if it's a slightly different colored pixel. Please, Arceus, never again. Pokemon Amie, or ways to pet and interact with your Pokemon. Combine the best of Pokemon Amie, where you can pet and feed them Pokepuffs, Pokemon Camp, where you can throw a ball and your Pokemon interact with each other, and Pokemon Picnic, where you can give your Pokemon a bath and it's perfect. Just being able to interact and bond with your Pokemon is a fun and cute detail that I personally really enjoy. Cooking minigames are fun and should stay. Actually, they should be expanded on, whether it's used for in-game advantages like making sandwiches for easier shiny hunts, or maybe just something to feed your Pokemon like Pokepuffs. Walk-in animations should also stay as a forever feature. It's just fun to have your Pokemon walk with you, that's all. Special and rare Pokeballs like Lure Balls, Heavy Balls, Beast Balls should also be expanded on, and new rare Pokeballs should be introduced. More new Pokeballs are always welcomed and would be a great added aesthetic to match your Pokemon with that new Pokeball. Character customization, especially with the hairstyles, should continue to be widely expanded on. I do like the feature in Legends EA where the clothes aren't gender locked. Clothes are available for everyone. They should keep it that way. More original variants or newly founded convergent Pokemon. Instead of having NPCs give you the past regional forms, they should bring back the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone could be filled with all or some of the previous regional forms or convergent Pokemon usually found in another region. That way, you can make it make sense why an Alolan Pokemon is found in the newer regions. Having old characters from past games make fun cameos or be heavily referenced in new games. It's just nice to see what the characters have been up to since we last saw them. Moving now from what I would like to see from the mainline games, I'm going to mention some spin-off games that I'm begging to be revived and to make a comeback either in this year or the next following years. A new Mystery Dungeon game is so overdue by now. Mystery Dungeon is by far my favorite Pokemon spin-off series. Explorers of the Sky being my favorite game among the series. We haven't had a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game since Generation 6. 2015 was the last time we got a new Mystery Dungeon game. Yes, I realize we got a Rescue Red and Blue Mystery Dungeon remake game in 2020, but we still haven't had any Pokemon past Gen 6 be introduced into the series. I hope that with a remake, it would have opened back up the series and they would make more, but 5 years later and still nothing, unfortunately. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Mystery Dungeon series is by far the most popular out of all the Pokemon spin-off series. I'm just hoping they were waiting for Gen 10 to come out to incorporate the new Pokemon into a new Mystery Dungeon game. Pokémon Rangers is probably the most requested spin-off game to be brought up in a conversation whenever a new Pokemon Direct is announced. These games are just so fun. Pokémon Ranger Guardian Signs is the best of the series, although Shadows of Amie is just as good. The only thing I can think of that might have stopped the production of this series is that the game relied on a DS stylus to draw circles on the screen, and the Switch console didn't have a dedicated pen stylus accessory, and I guess they just never thought of another way to draw circles. However, the Switch 2 has mouse controls, so you could use your Switch 2 Joy-Con as a mouse and be able to replicate a pen stylus and draw circles. We have a way now for it to work, so there is no excuse now why there isn't a new Pokemon Rangers game. This next spin-off series is more of a Pokemon game that isn't talked about as much as the other ones, but it's still one of my personal favorites. I would love a new Pokémon tournament game. I was obsessed with this game. I spent so many hours practicing and playing competitive rank. I would join random Pokémon Twitch tournaments and watch the official Pokémon tournament matches for the World Championships. It was a unique fighting game with different gameplay phases, field phase and a duel phase. It was nice playing as the Pokemon instead of the trainer and just acting out like a real Pokemon battle. Bandai Namco developed this game, and I don't know, maybe we should give them the reins again and cook up a sequel for this series. There are so many new Pokemon that would look great in this game and would be fun to play as. I'm looking at you, Masquerada and Ice Cube. The last spin-off game that I would jump for joy if it got announced is a new Pokemon Rumble game. This series is just so funny, where you play as a wind-up Pokemon toy and battle other wind-up Pokemon toys. It's also addictive and just overall fun. Pokemon Rumble Blast was my go-to travel car ride game to play. It's got action, it's got whimsy, and it even has something for you shiny hunters. Yup, you can shiny hunt in the Pokemon Rumble series. They would definitely have to give this series a big upgrade and add a lot more boss fights, Mega Evolution, and just things to do in order to make this game worth the $80. But listen, a fun whimsy game every now and then wouldn't be too bad. If they really want to make it worth $80, this could be the first Pokemon game where every single Pokemon is presented in one game. This series could make history and silence the Nat Dexters. It would just so happen that the Pokemon would be old chibi toys, but we can make that compromise, right? Okay, we have made it to the end of this video where I just told you what I'm expecting and hoping from Pokemon games in the upcoming following years. So, now I want to know what you are expecting or want from future games. What Pokemon spin-off games are you hoping to appear in the next Direct? I would love to hear all about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you want to hear me talk more about Pokemon and various video game topics. Okay, that's all for me. Until next time, bye!